The key here is that this wasn't a sophisticated scheme that fooled experienced regulators. It was crude fraud that succeeded only because Newsom's appointees were either too unqualified or too negligent to spot obvious red flags, resulting in millions meant for homeless housing disappearing. Secondly, there's a pattern of Newsom deliberately obstructing oversight. So he routinely vetoed bipartisan transparency legislation that would have exposed the fraud much, much earlier. He vetoed, I should say, Assembly Bill 2903, which was a bipartisan legislation that would have required systematic tracking of California's $24 billion in homelessness spending. The bill had unanimous support from accountability advocates. It would have created the transparency needed to catch fraudsters. Newsom didn't want it. He didn't want it. And by blocking that legislation, he ensured that fake bank statements and fraudulent applications would continue to slip through the cracks. Thirdly, Newsom appears to be guilty of blatant political cronyism. He created a $4 billion home key program grant that became a feeding trough for politically connected developers. Again, very similar to what we've been seeing in Minneapolis. The program structure allowed developers to secure millions in grants through relationships rather than merit. So we're talking dozens upon dozens of multi-million-dollar contracts going to firms favored by Democrat politicians throughout the state. It just became a huge cash grab among politically connected developers. Even the LA Mayor Karen Bass apparently was in on it. And we could go on and on and on. So as I noted, the FBI is on the case, and agents are openly saying if they discover federal laws were violated, they are going to be making arrests even at the highest levels in California politics. But in the meantime, I think the real lesson from both Minnesota and California is that left-wing socialism always ends up breeding corruption. Left-wing socialism always ends up breeding corruption. Socialist systems, like we're seeing in blue states, amass and concentrate an unprecedented amount of wealth in the hands of very, very few. And the ones who are collecting the taxpayer wealth are the same ones who are ironically entrusted with exercising oversight over how the wealth is going to be used. And inevitably, the extent of the corruption and fraud and theft that comes out of such a system intimidates most people from trying to fix the system. And it just perpetuates and spins completely out of control. You take any major Democrat urban area, like the Baltimore school system, for example, or the whole of Chicago, and you'll find that billions upon billions of dollars in waste, fraud, and abuse. This isn't a one-off. It's baked into the cake of the very urban socialism and blue state politics that these cities and states enact.